The massive alien ship appeared above Earth without warning. It was bigger than any human city, a dark metal giant that blocked out the sun over North America. Inside the ship, Commander Zixatheta looked down at the blue planet below. He had 6 arms, purple skin, and 4 eyes that never needed to blink. His species, the Krathon, had conquered 1,000 worlds. Earth would be number 1001. Show me their defenses, Zixatheta ordered his crew. The screens lit up with images of Earth's military. A few space stations floated in orbit, some old satellites with nuclear missiles, aircraft that still used chemical fuel, ships that floated on water instead of flying through space. Zixatheta made a sound that was like laughing. These humans were using technology that the Krathon had abandoned centuries ago. This will be easy, said his second-in-command, Vrextar. They are primitive. They have not even left their own solar system. Send the message, Zixatheta commanded. Tell them they have 1 day to surrender. On Earth, Captain Amy Rodriguez was working her shift at Liberty Station, one of Earth's orbital defense platforms. She was drinking coffee and reviewing reports when Lieutenant Jake Turner started shouting, "Captain, you need to see this." Amy rushed to his console. On the screen was the alien ship, impossibly huge and definitely not friendly. Before she could give any orders, a bright beam of energy shot from the alien vessel. In seconds, it destroyed Earth's entire communication satellite network. They just knocked out our satellites, Jake said, his face pale. All of them. Then the message came through on every remaining frequency. The alien's voice was cold and mechanical, translated by some kind of device. Humans of Earth. This is Commander Zixatheta of the Krathon hegemony. You have 1 rotation of your planet to surrender. If you resist, you will be destroyed. We have conquered species far greater than you. Do not make this difficult. Amy hit the emergency button, sending the message to Earth's military command. Within minutes, every leader on Earth knew about the aliens. Deep underground in Cheyenne, Mountain General Paul Harrison stood in the emergency command center. The room was full of screens showing world leaders joining by video call. The president of France was speaking. Maybe we should try to negotiate with them, find out what they want. They destroyed our satellites without warning, General Harrison interrupted. They're not here to talk. They're here to conquer. The British Prime Minister agreed. The question is, can we fight them? Their technology is superior, admitted the Russian president. But we have 7 billion people on this planet. We have nuclear weapons. We have armies. Nuclear weapons that probably can't scratch their shields, the Chinese premier pointed. Out. General Harrison stood up straight. Then we'll have to get creative. Humans have been fighting wars for thousands of years. We'll find a way. As news of the aliens spread across Earth, something strange happened. People didn't panic as much, as expected. Instead, they got angry. In Texas, a mechanic named Lisa Brown was working under a truck when her phone buzzed with the emergency alert. She read about the aliens and their demand for surrender. Lisa stood up, wiping oil from her hands. She looked at the sky where the alien ship was visible even from the ground, a dark spot against the blue. Like hell, we're surrendering, she said to herself. She called her brother, who was in the army. You seeing this alien stuff? Yeah, he replied. They want us to give up. What are you going to do? What do you think? We're going to fight. Lisa looked around her garage at all the tools and equipment. Then I'm going to help. In Tokyo, a businessman named Kenji Yamamoto was in a meeting when the news broke. Everyone's phones started buzzing at once. As they read about the aliens, Yamamoto stood up. Where are you going? His boss asked. I'm in the military reserves, Yamamoto said. If Earth is under attack, I need to report for duty. His boss nodded. Go. We'll be here when you get back. All over the world, the same scene played out. Military reserves reported for duty. Veterans put on their old uniforms. Scientists started thinking about weapons. Engineers began drawing up plans. Even regular people started preparing to fight. The Krathon had studied Earth before attacking. They had read the data about human wars. World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Afghanistan. Hundreds of conflicts over resources, land, and ideology. To the Krathon, it looked like chaos. A species that couldn't stop fighting itself would be easy to defeat. But they missed something important. Humans had been practicing war for their entire history. They were very, very good at it. And now, for the first time, all of humanity had the same enemy. Back on Liberty Station, Captain Rodriguez was making plans with her crew. "They think we're primitive," she said. "They think we'll just give up." "Won't we?" asked a young ensign. "Look at their ship, it's huge." Amy looked at the nervous faces around her. These were good people, brave people. They deserved the truth. "That ship is big," she agreed. "Their technology is advanced. But you know what? Humans have been beating the odds for our entire existence. We've fought predators with sticks and stones. We've survived ice ages. We've built civilizations in deserts and on mountains. We don't give up, ever." Jake Turner raised his hand. "What's the plan, Captain?" "First, we evacuate all non-essential personnel from the station. Then we start converting everything we have into weapons. Mining lasers, construction equipment, anything that can do damage." "That won't stop their ship," someone pointed out. "No," Amy agreed, "but it might slow them down. And that gives Earth time to prepare." In his underground bunker, General Harrison was having similar thoughts. He called his top advisors together. "I want every military base on high alert," he ordered. "Start evacuating cities near the coasts. They'll probably land there first." "What about negotiations?" asked a diplomat. "Prepare for them, but don't count on them," Harrison said. "These aliens made their intentions clear. They want us to surrender or die. I say we give them a third option." "Which is?" "We fight. We fight dirty. We fight with everything we have, and we never stop fighting until they leave or we're all dead." As Earth's single day ticked by, the planet transformed. Factories that made cars started making weapons. People dug tunnels and bunkers. Scientists worked through the night on new ideas. The internet, damaged but not destroyed, buzzed with plans and coordination. The Krathon watched from their ship, confused. Usually planets either surrendered immediately or tried one futile attack before giving up. But humans were doing something different. They were preparing for a long fight. "Commander," Rextar reported to Zix Theta, "the humans are not surrendering. They appear to be preparing for war." "With what?" Zix Theta asked. "Their weapons cannot hurt us." "Unknown, Commander. But they're not evacuating their cities. They're fortifying them." Zix Theta's 4 eyes narrowed. In 1,000 conquests, he had never seen this. Species always chose survival over resistance, but these humans seemed to prefer death to surrender. "It doesn't matter," he decided. "When the deadline passes, we attack. They'll surrender after the first city falls." But on Earth, in a small laboratory at MIT, Dr. Sam Chen was looking at something interesting on his computer screen. He had been studying the energy signature from the aliens' first attack, the one that destroyed the satellites. "That's odd," he muttered. "What's odd?" asked his assistant. "Their energy beam. It's powerful, but it's simple. It's just focused energy. Nothing we haven't seen before, just bigger." "So?" Dr. Chen smiled for the first time since the aliens arrived. "So maybe their technology isn't as advanced as we think. Maybe it's just bigger." He picked up his phone and called General Harrison. "General, I think I found something. Their weapons might have a weakness." As the deadline approached, Earth held its breath. 7 billion humans waited to see what would happen next. They didn't know if they could win, but they knew one thing. For certain, they would not surrender. The deadline passed at exactly noon, Eastern Standard Time. Commander Zix Theta stood on his bridge, watching Earth on the main screen. The planet still showed no signs of surrender, no white flags, no messages begging for mercy. Just silence and preparation. "Begin the ground assault," he ordered. "Send the first wave to their major cities. Show them what happens when they resist the Krathon hegemony." Dozens of smaller ships launched from the mothership. Each one carried 50 Krathon, soldiers in advanced armor with energy shields that could stop any projectile. They headed for New York, London, Moscow, Beijing, and other major cities around the world. In New York, the first Krathon transport landed in Times Square. The aliens marched out in perfect formation, their armor gleaming in the sunlight. Each soldier stood 8 feet tall with their 6 arms carrying different weapons. Their leader activated a loudspeaker. Humans of this city, kneel before the Krathon hegemony. Surrender now and you will be spared. The square seemed empty. The giant screens that usually showed advertisements were dark. The streets were quiet. Then the Krathon heard a sound. It was getting louder. An engine sound. Tony Martinez had been working construction in Manhattan for 20 years. When the evacuation order came, he didn't leave. Instead, he had spent the last day preparing his bulldozer. Now he sat in the driver's seat looking at the aliens standing in the middle of Times Square. Their shields shimmered in the air around them. Energy shields, he muttered. Let's see how they handle good old-fashioned steel. He pushed the accelerator to the floor. The bulldozer roared forward, its blade lowered. The Krathon soldiers saw it coming and fired their energy weapons, but the beams just scorched the metal. The bulldozer didn't stop. The first alien tried to dodge, but Tony caught him with the blade. The shield, designed to stop energy and fast-moving bullets, couldn't handle the slow, massive push of the bulldozer. The alien went flying into a building. Suddenly, the quiet streets came alive. More vehicles appeared from side streets and parking garages. Buses, trucks, taxis, all driven by New Yorkers who had refused to evacuate. Maria Santos had loaded her food truck with propane tanks. She drove it straight at the alien formation and jumped out at the last second. The explosion scattered the Krathon soldiers. Their shields don't stop slow-moving objects, someone shouted over the radio. The word spread quickly across the city and then across the world. In London, the Krathon had taken Trafalgar Square. They set up a command post and waited for the humans to surrender. The city seemed completely empty. No civilians, no military, nothing. The Krathon squad leader reported back to the ship. The humans have fled, Commander. The city is ours. Good, Zix Theta replied. Set up a garrison and move to the next objective. But the humans hadn't fled. They were waiting. In buildings all around the square, demolition charges had been placed. The British Army had spent 24 hours turning the city center into a trap. When the Krathon forces were fully deployed in the square, Colonel Arthur Briggs gave the order. Blow it. The explosions started from the outer buildings and moved inward. Not random explosions, but controlled demolitions that brought the buildings down in a specific pattern. Thousands of tons of concrete and steel fell on the Krathon position. Their shields couldn't stop that much mass. Within minutes, the entire battalion was buried. On the Krathon mothership, Zix Theta watched the tactical displays with confusion. Why are they destroying their own cities? His science officer, Kixmar, was equally puzzled. Unknown, Commander. This is not logical. They are causing more damage to themselves than we are. And why aren't they using energy weapons? Surely they have some. They do, Commander, but they're not using them. They're using primitive kinetic attacks, vehicles, explosives, falling buildings. Brextar studied the data. Commander, our shields were calibrated for energy weapons and high-velocity projectiles. These slow-moving massive objects are passing through. Then recalibrate them immediately. But, while the Krathon adjusted their technology, humanity was just getting started. In rural Montana, Farmer Bill Johnson got the news about the shield weakness over his ham radio. He looked out at his barn where his neighbors had gathered. You hear that, boys? He called out. Their fancy shields don't stop slow-moving stuff. And you know what we got a lot of? Slow-moving, heavy stuff. Within hours, Bill and his neighbors had welded steel plates to their tractors and trucks. They attached chains, hooks, and anything else that could grab or smash. When Krathon scouts appeared near his wheat field, they faced not soldiers, but angry farmers who knew every inch of their land. The first alien scouts walked through the field carefully, their sensors scanning for threats. They didn't notice the combine harvester until it was too late. Bill's neighbor, George, drove the massive machine right through their formation. The spinning blades didn't care about energy. Shields. Welcome to Montana, George shouted as the aliens scattered. Similar scenes played out across the world. In Russia, The Moscow metro became a death trap for Krathon patrols. The Russians flooded the tunnels when aliens entered, drowning dozens. In Australia, the Krathon learned that their armor wasn't designed for extreme heat. The outback killed more aliens than bullets did. They also learned about Australian wildlife when a squad was attacked by crocodiles near Darwin. In Japan, the Krathon faced a different problem. The Japanese had turned their cities into mazes of traps. Automated, cars programmed to ram aliens, industrial robots reprogrammed to attack. Even the bullet trains were weaponized, used as massive projectiles on rails. Back at MIT, Dr. Sam Chen was working with his team around the clock. They had captured a damaged Krathon datapad from the New York battle. It was heavily encrypted, but Chen had an idea. "Don't try to break their encryption," he told his team. "Just inject our own code alongside it." "Like a virus?" asked his assistant. "Exactly, but not to destroy their systems, just to confuse them." Within hours, they had created a quantum virus that would make small changes to Krathon navigation systems. Not enough to be noticed immediately, but enough to cause problems. The virus was uploaded to the captured datapad, which was then accidentally left where Krathon forces would find it. When they retrieved it and connected it to their network, the virus spread silently through their systems. The effects became apparent quickly. Krathon dropships started landing in the wrong locations. A squadron meant for Berlin ended up in the Baltic Sea. Reinforcements for Tokyo landed on Mount Fuji. A supply ship materialized inside a mountain. Navy Captain Frank Powell was commanding the submarine USS Defiance when sonar picked up something strange. "Sir, we have unknown contacts on the surface. They're not moving like ships." Powell raised the periscope. Through the lens, he saw Krathon soldiers floundering in the water. Their heavy armor was dragging them down. "Their dropship must have missed its target," his XO said. "Should we help them?" Powell thought for a moment. "They came here to conquer us. Load torpedo tubes 1 and 2. The submarine warfare was something the Krathon had never encountered. On their conquered worlds, oceans were obstacles, not battlefields. They had no concept of attacks from underwater. As more Krathon forces arrived on Earth, they found a planet that refused to be conquered. Every city was a fortress. Every forest was full of ambushes. Every human seemed ready to fight with whatever they had. In Texas, Lisa Brown had turned her garage into a workshop. She and other mechanics were converting mining equipment into weapons. Their creation was crude but effective. A railgun made from industrial electromagnets that could launch metal projectiles at incredible speed. "It ain't pretty," Lisa said, looking at the jumbled mess of wires and metal, "but it'll punch through their armor." The first test was against a captured Krathon armor plate. The projectile went straight through, leaving a perfect hole. Mass times acceleration, Lisa grinned. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. The Krathon were learning a hard lesson. They had conquered peaceful civilizations, species that valued life above freedom. But humans were different. Humans had spent their entire evolution fighting predators, fighting the environment, fighting each other. War wasn't something humans did. It was something humans were. Zixa Theta called an emergency meeting with his commanders. The holographic figures of his officers appeared around him, many showing damage from the fighting. "Report," he ordered. "We have secured several major cities," one commander said. "But we cannot hold them. The humans attack constantly. They use primitive weapons we cannot predict." "They're not fighting like a military," another added. "Civilians are attacking us. Children throw rocks at our soldiers. Elderly humans drive vehicles into our positions." "They're insane," Vrextar concluded. "They would rather die than surrender." Zixa Theta considered this. In 1,000 conquests, the Krathon had never faced anything like this. These humans were primitive, yes, but they were also unpredictable, creative, and absolutely relentless. "Double our ground forces," he decided, "and increase orbital bombardment of military targets." "Commander," Kixmar spoke up, "if we destroy too much of their infrastructure, the planet will be worthless to the hegemony. Then we'll rebuild it." But first, we must break their spirit. But on Earth, human spirit was anything but broken. In fact, it was. The Krathon adapted their shields within 48 hours. Now they could stop both energy weapons and kinetic attacks. Their confidence returned as they watched human bullets, vehicles, and even falling debris bounce harmlessly off their upgraded defenses. But they had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt even faster. Captain Amy Rodriguez floated in Liberty Station's command center, studying the enemy's new shields. "They're learning," she told Jake Turner. "But so are we." Earth's old nuclear missiles sat in their silos, considered useless against the alien technology. But Amy had an idea that she shared with General Harrison over encrypted channels. "We don't need the warheads," she explained. "Replace them with simple metal. Tungsten rods, ball bearings, even scrap metal. Launch them at maximum speed and create a cloud of hypersonic shrapnel." Harrison understood immediately. Death by 1,000 cuts. Within hours, missile silos across the world were being modified. Scientists and engineers worked without sleep, stripping out nuclear warheads and replacing them with dense metal projectiles. On the ground, the war had become even more vicious. The Krathon held major cities, but they controlled nothing else. In Chicago's ruins, a schoolteacher named Amanda White had organized survivors into resistance cells. They used the city's old Prohibition-era tunnels to move unseen. "Remember," she told her group, "we know this city. They don't. Every sewer, every maintenance tunnel, every abandoned subway line is our advantage." Her fighters weren't soldiers. They were accountants, store clerks, students, and parents. But they learned fast. They learned that Krathon soldiers had a blind spot directly above them. They learned that alien equipment malfunctioned in extreme cold. They learned that the Krathon needed 3 hours of sleep every 10 hours, and they were vulnerable then. The resistance struck hard and disappeared. They poisoned water supplies meant for the aliens. They sabotaged equipment. They painted fake tactical information on walls to confuse Krathon scouts. It wasn't honorable warfare, but honor had died the moment the aliens destroyed Earth's satellites. In Silicon Valley, programmer Danny Kim had achieved something remarkable. He and his team had hacked into manufacturing robots across the country, reprogramming them for war. Factories that once made smartphones now produced simple but effective weapons. Car plants assembled armored vehicles. Even toy factories were making surveillance drones. "It's not pretty," Danny said, watching a former car assembly robot weld armor plating. "But we can produce thousands of weapons every day." The Krathon commander Zix Theta grew increasingly frustrated. Every tactical display showed the same thing: chaos. Humans weren't fighting like a military force. They were fighting like a swarm of angry insects, attacking from every direction with no apparent coordination. But there was coordination. Deep in his bunker, General Harrison commanded a global resistance network. Information flowed constantly. When the Russians discovered that Krathon armor had weak points at the joints, the information spread worldwide within minutes. When Australians found that the aliens couldn't see certain infrared frequencies, every resistance cell knew within an hour. "Status report," Harrison demanded. "The modified missiles are ready, sir. Captain Rodriguez is prepared to coordinate from orbit. The Russians report they've retaken Volgograd using the sewer tactics. The Japanese have turned Tokyo into a killing field. The aliens can't move without triggering traps." Harrison nodded. "And our special project?" "Dr. Chen says he needs more time." Dr. Sam Chen was working on something that could change everything. While studying captured Krathon technology, he had made a shocking discovery. Their faster-than-light drive wasn't as advanced as it seemed. It was powerful but inefficient, like using a sledgehammer where a scalpel would work better. "Look at this," he told his team. "They're folding space through brute force. But we understand quantum mechanics better than they do. We could build something more elegant." His assistant was skeptical. "Build an FTL drive in days?" "Not build from scratch. Modify. We have that damaged Krathon shuttle from the Moscow battle. If we can understand their drive, we can improve it." The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Jenny Park, a college student who had been running simulations on her gaming computer, sent her results to MIT. "This is brilliant," Chen said, reading her work. "She's not trying to fold space. She's suggesting we slide through it, like a needle through fabric instead of punching a hole." Within days, every physicist and engineer on Earth was working on the problem. The prototype drive was ugly, held together with welding and hope, but it worked. The first test sent a drone to Mars and back in minutes. Captain Rodriguez volunteered to command humanity's first FTL warship. It was a converted cargo vessel, officially named Vengeance, but the crew called it the Ugly Duckling. It looked like someone had attached engines to a shipping container and added weapons as an afterthought, but it was faster than anything the Krathon had. The Vengeance's first mission was to hit Krathon supply lines. Rodriguez and her crew would appear behind enemy convoys, destroy them, and vanish before the aliens could respond. The Krathon, used to slow, formal space battles, couldn't adapt to human hit-and-run tactics. On Earth, the tide was slowly turning. The Krathon still held cities, but at terrible cost. Every day brought new casualties. Their advanced medical technology couldn't handle the variety of human attacks. Soldiers were poisoned by Earth bacteria their systems couldn't process. Others went mad from constant guerrilla attacks, never knowing when or where the next strike would come. In the Amazon rainforest, local guide Carlos Mendoza led Krathon patrols into the deep jungle. The aliens, used to controlling environments with technology, were unprepared for the raw hostility of Earth's wilderness. "This way," Carlos called in broken Krathon, learned from a captured translator. He led them deeper into the forest where the heat and humidity made their armor malfunction. The patrol never returned. The jungle had killed them as surely as any weapon. Snakes, spiders, diseases, and the crushing green maze itself. Earth's biosphere was as much a defender as its people. The Krathon tried to adapt. They burned forests, poisoned water supplies, and leveled entire neighborhoods. But for every atrocity, human resistance grew stronger. The footage of destroyed homes and killed civilians spread across the remaining internet, turning sadness into rage. In Texas, Lisa Brown's railgun design had been shared worldwide. Now every resistance cell with access to industrial equipment was building them. They were crude, unreliable, and used enormous amounts of power. But they worked. Lisa herself led a strike team against a Krathon garrison outside Houston. They had 3 railguns mounted on trucks powered by generators that sounded like jet engines. "Remember," she told her team, "we get 3 shots each before the capacitors overload. Make them count." The attack was swift and brutal. The railgun projectiles punched through the garrison's walls and shields alike. By the time Krathon reinforcements arrived, Lisa's team was gone, leaving only destroyed equipment and alien casualties. But the real psychological blow came when humanity revealed what they had been preparing in secret. General Harrison authorized the broadcast of humanity's military history to the Krathon fleet. Every war, every conflict, every brutal moment of human violence was transmitted to the alien ships. The message was simple. We have been killing each other for 10,000 years. We have weapons that can burn cities, diseases that can eliminate populations, and the will to use them. We have practiced war for our entire existence. And now, we're united against you. Zixtheta watched the broadcasts in his command center. The sheer scope of human violence was staggering. These creatures had developed atomic weapons and pointed them at each other. They had created chemical weapons that killed their own kind in horrific ways. They had rules for war, which meant they had thought about war enough to need rules. "Commander," his science officer Kixmar reported, "based on their history, if we continue this conquest, they will resist for generations. Some of their conflicts have lasted over 100 years. "That's impossible," Rextar protested. "No species fights that long." "Humans do," Kixmar replied. "They have cultural memories of conflicts from centuries ago. They train their children to remember wars their ancestors fought." Zixtheta's 4 eyes closed in frustration. The Krathon way of war was simple. Show overwhelming force, accept surrender, integrate the conquered. But humans didn't surrender. They just kept fighting, getting more creative and more vicious with each passing day. Perhaps we should consider withdrawal, one of his commanders suggested over the communication link. The Hegemony Council would never accept that, Zixitheta replied. We have never failed to conquer a targeted world. We've also never faced anything like humans, the commander pointed out. As they debated, Captain Rodriguez struck again. The Vengeance appeared near a Krathon supply depot in orbit around Earth. Instead of attacking directly, her crew deployed hundreds of small drones, each carrying mining explosives. Human warfare lesson number 1, Rodriguez announced over open channels. We don't fight fair. The drones swarmed the depot, too small and numerous for point defense to stop. The explosions chain-reacted through the station's fuel supplies. The entire depot vanished in a ball of fire visible from Earth's surface. 2 weeks had passed since the invasion began. The planet-killer weapon hung in space like a metal moon of death, charging its massive energy core. General Harrison stood in his bunker, looking at the display showing the weapon. His advisors were silent. Everyone knew what that device meant. How long until it's ready to fire? Harrison asked. Based on energy readings, maybe 6 hours, the science advisor replied. Can we destroy it? Not with anything we have. It's too well defended. But Harrison wasn't ready to give up. He opened a channel to every resistance cell, every military unit, every human still fighting. This is General Harrison. The aliens have deployed a planet-killer weapon. We have 6 hours. I need every crazy, impossible, insane idea you've got. The crazier the better. The responses flooded in. Most were impossible. Some were suicidal. But one message stood out. It came from Jenny Park, the college student who had helped design the FTL drive. General, what if we don't fight it? What if we steal it? Harrison leaned forward. Explain. The weapon has to identify its target, right? It needs to know what to shoot. If we can change its targeting system, make it think something else is the threat, we could turn it against them, Harrison finished. Get her on a secure line now. Jenny Park was 22 years old and had been studying computer science and physics before the invasion. Now she found herself explaining her plan to Earth's military leaders. The Krathon use identification codes for their technology, she said. We've seen it in captured equipment. Everything has a friend or foe signal. If we can inject a virus that rewrites those signals, we can make the planet killer think the Krathon mothership is the enemy. How do we get a virus into the weapon? Asked Captain Rodriguez from the Vengeance. Physical connection, Jenny replied. Someone has to actually get to the weapon and insert the virus manually. The room was quiet. It was a suicide mission. Whoever went wouldn't come back. I'll do it, said a voice over the radio. It was Lisa Brown from Texas. I've been building things and breaking things my whole life. I can get your virus where it needs to go. Lisa, you understand what you're volunteering for? Harrison asked. General, they came here to take our world. They killed our people. If I can stop them by giving my life, that's a trade I'll make any day. The plan was insane, but it was all they had. Danny Kim and his hackers wrote the virus, a piece of code designed to be simple but devastating. It would change just one thing, the weapon's target identification. Instead of Earth, it would target the largest Krathon energy signature, their mothership. But they still needed to get Lisa to the weapon. That's where humanity's new tactic came in. If they couldn't win with technology, they would win with chaos. We need every ship, shuttle, plane, and flying vehicle we can get into space, Rodriguez announced. Doesn't matter if they're armed, doesn't matter if they barely fly, we need numbers. Around the world, the call went out. Anything that could reach orbit was prepared. Old space shuttles pulled from museums, experimental aircraft, even a few billionaires' private space planes. They strapped rockets to cargo planes. They filled weather balloons with metal chaff. If it could get up there and cause confusion, they used it. The Krathon watched these preparations with amusement. Commander Zixitheta stood on his bridge, observing the pathetic collection of human vehicles being prepared. They're going to attack. Us with that? Rextar laughed. Those aren't warships, they're junk. Let them come, Zixitheta said. It will be their last gesture before we destroy their world. But while the Krathon focused on the obvious threat, the real plan was already in motion. A Boeing 747, one of Earth's old passenger aircraft, had been modified in secret. Its cargo hold was filled with extra fuel and life support. Its passenger was Lisa Brown, wearing a makeshift spacesuit built from submarine parts and welding equipment. The pilot was Colonel Roy Davis, pulled out of retirement for one last flight. He had flown fighters in 3 wars and commercial planes for 20 years after that. "You ready for this, miss?" he asked Lisa as they prepared for takeoff. "Ready as I'll ever be, Colonel. You just get me close. I'll do the rest." The attack began at dawn. Hundreds of human vehicles launched toward the Krathon fleet. They flew in no formation, followed no pattern. Some broadcast music. Others shot fireworks. A few were remotely controlled and flew in circles. It was complete chaos. The Krathon weapons officers didn't know what to target first. Their sophisticated systems were designed to track military threats, not a swarm of random vehicles doing random things. "What are they doing?" Zix Theta demanded. "Unknown, Commander. They appear to be dancing." Indeed, some of the human ships were performing aerobatic maneuvers, loop-the-loops, and barrel rolls that served no tactical purpose except to confuse. In the chaos, nobody noticed one old passenger plane flying steady and straight, its transponder off, its heat signature masked by the 100 other vessels around it. Roy Davis flew with the skill of decades of experience. He weaved between Krathon laser fire and debris, keeping the 747 on course for the planet-killer weapon. 2 minutes to target, he announced. Lisa was in the cargo hold, checking her equipment one last time. The virus was stored in a device that looked like it came from a hardware store because it did. It was a nail gun modified to inject the code directly into Krathon systems. "Remember," Danny Kim said over the radio, "you need to find a data port. Look for anything that resembles the ports on the captured equipment." "Got it," Lisa replied. Blue circles with 3 dots. The 747 shuddered as laser fire grazed its wing. Roy's voice was calm. 30 seconds. Opening cargo door. The door opened to the vacuum of space. Lisa's magnetic boots kept her attached to the floor. She could see the planet-killer weapon now, a massive sphere of dark metal with energy coursing across its surface. "Now!" Roy shouted. Lisa jumped. In space, there's no air resistance. She flew straight and true toward the weapon. Her makeshift suit held together, the submarine parts doing their job. She hit the weapon's surface hard, but managed to grab onto a maintenance rail. "I'm on," she reported. Behind her, Roy Davis turned the 747 away, but not fast enough. Krathon fighters destroyed it seconds later. Roy's last transmission was simple. "Give them hell, Lisa." Lisa was alone now, crawling across the surface of a weapon that could destroy worlds. She found what she was looking for, a maintenance panel with data ports. Her hands shook as she connected the virus injector. "This is for Earth," she whispered and pulled the trigger. The virus uploaded in 3 seconds. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the weapon's surface lights changed color. Red to blue, blue to green. The massive weapon began to turn, its enormous bulk rotating slowly in space. On the Krathon mothership, alarms started screaming. "Commander," Kixmar shouted, "the planet killer is targeting us." "That's impossible. Override it." "I can't. It's not responding to commands." Zix Theta watched in horror as his own ultimate weapon turned toward his ship. The weapon that had ended rebellions on a dozen worlds. The weapon that was supposed to break humanity. It was now aimed at him. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," he ordered. But the mothership was too big, too slow. It had been designed for intimidation, not agility. The planet killer fired. The beam of energy was visible from Earth, a lance of light that struck the Krathon mothership dead center. The massive vessel's shields held for exactly 2 seconds before collapsing. The beam punched through the ship like paper. Secondary explosions rippled through the mothership. Zix Theta had just enough time to realize he had been defeated by a species that hadn't even achieved proper spaceflight. His last thought was a message to the Hegemony Council. Do not underestimate the humans. The mothership exploded in a flash that briefly outshone the sun. On Earth, people watched in stunned silence. Then the cheering began. It started in one city, spread to another, and soon the entire planet was celebrating. They had done the impossible. They had defeated a technologically superior enemy through sheer determination and creativity. The remaining Krathon forces were in chaos. Without their commander and mothership, they had no leadership. Some surrendered immediately. Others fled to their ships and ran for deep space. But the war wasn't over yet. The planet killer weapon was still active, still charged, and now it was turning toward Earth. The virus worked too well, Danny Kim reported to General Harrison. It destroyed the Krathon ship, but now it's reverting to its original target. How long until it fires again? 10 minutes, maybe less. Harrison closed his eyes. They had come so far, fought so hard, only to face destruction anyway. But then Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the radio. General, I have an idea. It's crazy, but it might work. At this point, Captain, crazy is all we have left. Rodriguez outlined her plan. The Vengeance would ram the weapon, possibly destroying it or at least damaging it enough to prevent it from firing. It meant sacrificing Earth's only FTL ship and her entire crew. There has to be another way, Harrison said. There's no time for another way, General. But before Rodriguez could act, something unexpected happened. The planet killer weapon powered down. Its lights went dark. It became just another piece of dead metal floating in space. What happened? Harrison asked. Jenny Park's voice came over the radio, tired but triumphant. The planet killer weapon floated dead in space, but Lisa Brown was still alive on its surface. Her makeshift suit had held together, and she had enough oxygen for another hour. She sat on the curved metal surface, looking at Earth below, accepting that she would die here. It was a good death, she thought. A worthy death. Then her radio crackled. Lisa, this is Captain Rodriguez. Hold tight. We're coming to get you. How did you know I was still alive? We didn't. But humans don't leave anyone behind if we can help it. The Vengeance moved carefully toward the weapon. Jake Turner suited up and went out to retrieve Lisa. When they pulled her aboard, the entire crew cheered. She had saved the world, and now the world had saved her. On Earth, the remaining Krathon forces were in complete disarray. Without their command structure, they didn't know what to do. Some tried to continue fighting, but their hearts weren't in it. They had come expecting easy victory and found something entirely different. In New York, a group of Krathon soldiers surrendered to Tony Martinez, the same construction worker who had hit them with a bulldozer 2 weeks earlier. They laid down their weapons and raised their 6 arms in surrender. Please, their translator device said. No more fighting. We surrender. Tony looked at the aliens who had come to conquer his world. They looked smaller now, defeated and afraid. You invaded our home. You killed our people. We followed orders. We were wrong. Your species. You are not what we expected. General Harrison faced a decision no human had ever faced before. What do you do with alien prisoners of war? How do you handle the surrender of an interstellar invasion force? He convened a meeting with world leaders. Some wanted revenge. Others wanted to study the alien technology. But it was the president of South Africa who offered wisdom. We have a chance here, she said, to show the galaxy who we really are. Yes, we can fight. We've proven that. But we can also show mercy. We can be better than those who tried to conquer us. The decision was made. Krathon soldiers who surrendered would be treated according to the Geneva Convention, adapted for alien prisoners. They would not be tortured or killed. They would be held until arrangements could be made for their return to Krathon space. But first, humanity had a message to send. The captured Krathon communication equipment was repaired and aimed at deep space, toward what they believed was Krathon territory. General Harrison stood before the transmitter, with representatives from every nation beside him. This is General Paul Harrison of Earth. We are broadcasting to the Krathon hegemony and any other species who might be listening. 2 weeks ago, your forces came to our world demanding our surrender. You expected us to kneel. You expected us to give up. You were wrong. He paused, letting the words sink in. Your commander Zixatheta is dead, killed by his own weapon. Your mothership is destroyed. Your invasion has failed. But we are not conquerors like you. We will return your surviving soldiers unharmed. They will carry a message back to your hegemony. Harrison looked directly at the camera. Earth is off limits. Come in peace, and we will welcome you as friends. We will trade with you, learn from you, and teach you what we know. But come in war, and you will learn what the word really means. We have been practicing warfare for 10,000 years. We have weapons that can crack atoms and diseases that can destroy civilizations. We have the will to use them if we must. But, more than that, we have something you don't understand. We have the ability to unite against a common threat. 7 billion humans, all different, all unique, but all human. You made us stop fighting each other and start fighting you. That was your biggest mistake. The message continued. To any other species listening, know this. Humanity wants peace. We want to explore the stars, to meet new civilizations, to learn and grow. But we will defend ourselves. We will protect our home. And we will never, ever surrender. The broadcast ended. Within days, responses began coming in from other alien civilizations. Most were cautious, curious about these humans who had defeated the Krathon. Some offered trade agreements. Others offered alliances. The Galactic Trade Consortium was the first to make official contact. Their message was simple and respectful. Greetings, humans of Earth. We come in peace, seeking mutual beneficial trade agreements. We have reviewed the records of your conflict with the Krathon. We wish to assure you that we have no interest in military action. We are merchants, not conquerors. The message had an addendum that made General Harrison laugh. Please note, we have studied your history. We are aware of your capabilities. We are not, as you say, stupid. In the weeks that followed, Earth began to rebuild. Cities were reconstructed. The dead were mourned. Heroes were honored. Lisa Brown received medals from 30 different nations. Captain Rodriguez was promoted to admiral. Jenny Park was offered positions at every university and tech company on the planet. But the real change was in humanity itself. The invasion had done something that thousands of years of history hadn't achieved. It had united the human race. Old enemies shook hands. Ancient feuds were forgotten. The flags of nations still flew, but above them all was a new flag. The flag of Earth, a blue and green sphere on a field of stars. Dr. Sam Chen led the effort to reverse engineer Krathon technology. Within months, humanity had working FTL drives. Not copies of Krathon design, but better versions improved with human innovation. Ships were built, not warships, but exploration vessels. Humanity was going to the stars. The first ship to launch was named Unity. Its crew was international, representing every continent. Its mission was peaceful exploration, but it carried weapons, just in case. Humans had learned that the galaxy could be dangerous. As Unity prepared to jump to FTL for the first time, its captain spoke to Earth. Today we take our first step into the larger galaxy. We go in peace, but we go prepared. We are explorers, but we are also human. And as the galaxy has learned, that means something. The ship vanished in a flash of light, heading for the stars. Back on Earth, in a small bar in Texas, Lisa Brown sat with her friends watching the launch on television. Someone bought her another beer, the 100th person to do so since the invasion ended. You saved the world, they said. Lisa shook her head. We all saved the world. Every person who fought, who resisted, who refused to give up. That's what humans do. We fight for each other. In the Krathon hegemony, the surviving soldiers had returned home with their report. The Hegemony Council listened in shocked silence as they described humanity's resistance. The crude weapons that had defeated advanced shields. The civilians, who had fought trained soldiers. The species that had turned its own planet into a weapon. What is your assessment? The council asked. The senior surviving officer who had taken command after Zixatheta's death spoke carefully. Humans are insane by our standards. They will fight with anything in any way for as long as it takes. They do not follow rules of war. They do not accept defeat. They would rather destroy their own world than let someone else have it. Should we attempt another invasion with a larger force? No, the officer said quickly. Never. Mark Earth with the highest warning level. Do not approach with hostile intent. They are primitive in technology but advanced in warfare. They are unpredictable, adaptable, and absolutely relentless. And now they have our technology, which they are already improving. The Council made their decision. Earth was marked as off-limits for military action. Trade would be allowed, but carefully. The humans were to be watched but never again challenged directly. As news of humanity's victory spread through the galaxy, Earth received more visitors. Some came to trade, others to learn. They found a species that was violent and peaceful, primitive and advanced, divided and united. Humans were a contradiction, and that made them fascinating and terrifying in equal measure. A year after the invasion, a monument was built where the final battle had taken place. It was simple, just a black stone with names of everyone who had died defending Earth. At the top was an inscription. They expected us to surrender. They expected us to kneel. They expected us to give up. They were wrong. We are human. We endure. We adapt. We overcome. And we never surrender. Jenny Park stood at the monument on its dedication day. She was now director of Earth's FTL Research Division, the youngest person to ever hold such a position. Next to her stood Lisa Brown, now an instructor teaching resistance tactics to Earth's new defense force. Captain Rodriguez, now Admiral Rodriguez, commanded Earth's growing fleet. Think they'll ever come back? Lisa asked. The Krathon? No, Jenny replied. But others might. The galaxy is big, and not everyone will have gotten the message. Let them come, Admiral Rodriguez said. We beat the Krathon with bulldozers and nail guns. Imagine what we can do now that we have real weapons. They stood in silence for a moment, remembering those who had died, honoring those who had fought. Then Jenny spoke again. You know what the funny thing is? They united us. The Krathon did what no human leader ever could. They gave us a common enemy, and in fighting them we found out who we really are. And who are we? Lisa asked. Jenny smiled. We're the species that the galaxy warns each other about. We're the ones who refuse to lose. We're the crazy ones who will fight with anything and never give up. We're humans. As the sun set over the monument, Earth continued its journey into a